Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is The Art of Politics. Of course, this is the only show of its type where you have a liberal Democrat, which is really good, and you have a conservative, which is really bad. Well, he's not really that bad, but he hasn't been here for a while. Bill O'Brien,
Good
nice
to see you, Ken. But you know, you have to be talking to your colleagues because they don't call you a liberal Democrat anymore. They call you a lot of names. They don't call you that particular name.
Ooh. Ooh, ouch! That hurts. That hurts.
No, it's all right. But I had to tell you the truth, Ken.
Well, I understand that, and I will tell you, since we've been doing the show, I've gotten a little trouble, but recently I've gotten a little bit more trouble, which means the Democrats not necessarily like me.
Well, I'm sure they like you because they like all of us and they want the best for all of us. Isn't that the case, Ken?
Well, sometimes that's true. But you've been out and wandering. What have you been? The people haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to?
Well, you know, I've been involved with a new company that I'm running in Massachusetts. It's a software company, a subsidiary of a European company. So I've been involved in that, still trying to get up to the session days whenever I can, legislative session days, and trying to read all the legislation that's up there. So it's been a busy period, but
and you moved
difficult.
You were in Boston, you moved out.
We were in Cambridge,
yep.
And you know, Cambridge being what it is, we had to move out of Cambridge, of course. You know, the
sure.
Politics being the way they are there, we had to move to
a
little bit closer to New Hampshire, so we did that. It's been a busy period. But you know, I haven't stayed away from some of the issues, and obviously always try to stay up on things. Like I came across today that Tom Harkins, the senator, where is he from? Iowa, someplace, just got back from Cuba, and following the tradition of real liberal Democrats, he was full of praises of that communist regime, just as you know a bunch of liberals went to Russia in the 1930s and found a workers' paradise there. Didn't catch on to the fact that in the workers' paradise there were people dying of famine and people being killed because of their wrong political persuasion.
It's interesting how you get one person who went to Cuba, and now we're in Russia. Let's stay in Cuba, okay?
It's part of her tradition, Ken. It's part of her tradition.
I know.
And and the reason for it is it really speaks to the differences between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans are realists. Democrats are good people, but they seek a utopia. They think that man can be perfected. Republicans look at people and say, well, there is this original sin. In fact, people won't be perfected, so we don't try to have legislation that perfects them. Democrats always are looking for that utopia on the earth, whether it's Sean Penn going to see Hugo Chavez in Venezuela and saying, there's a great man, or Tom Harkins going
and meeting Mao
and saying here's not a great guy, but we have to do business with him. It's not as if he went to.
Don't think we should do business with Cuba.
It's not as if he's the 1930s Democrats who went to Russia and said, I've found the future and it works.
Which Democrat was that, by the way?
Oh, well, John Reed, for example, was one of them.
I don't remember him.
No, because
he was around at the time of the Wright brothers.
We've moved on a little bit after that. We've moved on to others. Harry Hopkins, you've heard of Harry Hopkins.
But you Republicans,
he was another.
Republicans will just keep this going. Look, you guys took a beating, and you're going to take another beating, especially on a federal level, because you're nuts.
You know, when I was
nutty
when,
things.
when I was
How about
spe-
Arizona?
when I was
mean,
speaker, when I was
there we
speaker,
go.
3/4 of the New Hampshire House was Republicans. That's not called taking a beating for Republicans. There was a beating given,
But there was 3/4, and then what happened?
and then we didn't lose as many seats as you did the prior election.
Nobody lost
you-
that many seats.
And
I think in 100 years.
You guys are sitting here with your Obamacare fiasco and your foreign policy ongoing fiascos.
Foreign policy?
These fiascos.
You mean,
you guys are whistling past the cemetery, my friend.
Yeah, right. And let us get something straight. You're the guys who made it illegal for us to have an insurance exchange. Imagine lawmakers not being able to to vote on getting an insurance exchange. And look what's happened. You're the one who took the doctors away from the people who were not supposed to lose their doctors, because here in Nashua, they got rid of one hospital, which is Southern Regional, and they kept one hospital, which is St. Joe's. And if we would have done the exchange, we would have had all those hospitals, because they're losing a lot of money.
So
A lot of people are going out of work because of what the Republicans did.
That's an interesting analysis, Kim. But back here on Earth, and as a matter of fact, back in New Hampshire, we didn't make it illegal to start. No, we didn't. We just said the state of New Hampshire isn't going to start an exchange. Look what's happened to some states that started exchange. Oregon started one, and it's cost $368 million,
Well, I thought
and they
last
haven't signed
time
up
it
one
was
person.
30 million.
No,
between
Oregon
up
set up one, and they spent
What
$368 million.
does Oregon know
you-
compared to
they-
New Hampshire? I mean,
Not a lot. They didn't know what we did, which is to stay out of that. Because they've spent $368 million, and they haven't signed up one person.
but
You
that-
look across the country, that is the experience of all the states. Vermont
they've
has
already
spent,
reached
Vermont
what,
has,
5 million, 4 million. They've already reached 4 million as of I think yesterday, who have signed up for the exchange. 4 million. But
you know, the goalpost was 7 million by now, but the Obama administration not only has moved the goalposts, it's taken the goalposts and sold it for scrap metal. The fact of the matter
That's
is,
funny.
it's a failure.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let us again stay right here in New Hampshire, and if we would have had an exchange, the hospital here in Nashua, which is Southern Regional, would be on the exchange. 10 hospitals were taken off the exchange, and because I came from Commerce. Let me finish.
Ken,
'cause
if we didn't have
a brawl.
Obamacare, none of this would be taking
Oh no!
place.
You
None
did
of this
this.
would
You
take
did this so to make it difficult for Obamacare.
No, we didn't. We saved people the cost of an insurance exchange. The federal government. We told the federal government, you have a law. You're wrecking medical insurance this way. Do it on your own. We're not going to participate. We're not going to use New Hampshire taxpayer money in order to wreck the medical delivery systems in this state. The reason we only have
happened.
The only reason that we have a limited number of insurance companies in the state is because when Jean Shaheen was governor, she passed community ratings. She ended up pushing through the legislature community ratings. We had a good 20 or more insurance companies writing coverage in the state then. Now we're down to essentially Anthem.
Well,
no wonder we have
okay.
that one monopoly saying picking and choosing among hospitals.
You may not want to admit it, but you guys did everything that you could do to stop Obamacare, and this was one of the things that you guys did.
You bet we
was
did.
not let us do an insurance exchange. Do you know there is one? There's county that doesn't even have a hospital in it. I think it's Coles County. That doesn't have a hospital in it.
Ken,
they have a hospital right in the city.
Ken, you're looking at an apple and you're calling it a Maserati. They're two different things. The fact is, whether or not the state ran the exchange or the federal government ran the exchange, the only difference is that the taxpayers in New Hampshire didn't have to pay. So indeed we did. Now,
But
the
we
result of
are
Obamacare
paying.
cutting out
People
hospitals,
from Nashua,
that's going to happen.
People from Nashua or people coming to Nashua before going to particular hospitals can't see their own doctor, can't go to their own,
and that is because
go to their own hospitals. And that's you guys' fault. This is not our fault.
It's because of the falsely named Affordable Care Act.
Oh, here we go again.
It's because of Obamacare.
It exists, Bill. Let it.
Well, then don't blame me for it, Russ Edge. Don't blame us.
You have the
Republicans
skeleton.
for what you guys have caused.
if you want to, may change part of the body of it, but the skeleton of it is there. But
we
up
didn't have
here
to
in
kill.
New
We didn't have to kill
Hampshire-
medical insurance so
Right.
coverage so it'd be a skeleton.
Here
We didn't
in
have to do
New
that.
Hampshire, because of what you guys did to try to stop Obamacare up here, this is what's happened. Somebody has to come in and do the exchange, and it's an insurance company that comes in and does the exchange. An insurance company.
Let's
And look
not
what they've done.
let's not confuse people. There's one insurance company that's going to get private insurance, and that's Anthem. Now, whether it gets it through a federal exchange paid by the federal government, which came up with Obamacare, or whether we were sucked in and we paid for it ourselves and had an exchange, makes no difference. There's going to be one company. That company went to the doctors and, the hospitals, and said, we're going to pick and choose winners and losers. I feel very bad for Nashua. I feel very bad for a county that doesn't have it.
I'll tell you
You know
what.
You know what they have to do is they have to look at Gene
if we
Shaheen
would-
in 2014 and say, this is what you
If we would have
caused.
set up the exchange, this would not be happening all over the
How?
state.
What would be
not
different?
just
What would be
Nashua.
different?
Well, first of all, Southern Regional would be one of the
No.
hospitals.
Why would that be the case? Why?
Why?
Yeah, why would Anthem have acted any different whether the policyholders came
No,
through a
no.
federal
I'm not
exchange
talking
or a
Anthem.
state exchange?
I'm talking us
No,
as
no.
legislators. We would have, if we would have had an exchange, we wouldn't have taken hospitals out of the mix.
No,
and
Ken,
you want to know what they said?
You're illustrating the fact you don't even know what an exchange is. The exchange doesn't tell the
Excuse
insurance
me, I'm in
companies.
commerce. Believe me, I know what an exchange is.
The exchange doesn't tell the insurance companies what hospitals to take or not to take. It just is a way of channeling policyholders to the companies. Whether or not you have a state exchange or a federal
Hold on a
exchange,
second.
it has nothing
Hold on
to
a
do with
second.
who the provider is.
Wait a minute, wait. Anthem chose the hospitals. Nobody else chose
Yeah,
the hospitals.
yeah.
Nobody else. So
And
if
if you had a
you're
state
making it
exchange-
sound like it's other,
If you have
that's
a
not true.
If you have a state exchange, what company other than Anthem is going to be writing medical insurance in the state?
What difference does it make?
Because it's Anthem that made the choice.
Doing it. Correct. Anthem is the only thing. So you know something? You guys didn't even know the insurance company was going to take it over and set up an exchange. You couldn't even foresee that. I know I couldn't.
The insurance company didn't set up an exchange. The federal government did.
Anthem is the insurance company that came forward and said, we will do it. They
No,
went to the
they said,
federal
well,
government. The federal government agreed that Anthem could do it the way they wanted to, and that was to take 10 hospitals out of the unit.
Ken, what it comes down to is that when you try to have a one-size-fits-all national health insurance scheme, you're going to end up with some real problems. And it's across the country. In Oregon, for example, not one person is signed up. Federally,
I don't believe that.
Ken,
I don't
it
believe
is
that.
it is the fact.
No, I don't believe that.
Go look it up. And if it's not,
Yeah.
it's not, come on a program and go tell people
Well,
where you found the information. 'cause
I wanna
that
tell-
is absolutely true.
Right,
Not
I
one-
wanna tell you-
$368 million, not one person. $368 million of these viewers' monies, because that was federal money that went to Oregon to do that, and every bit of it has been wasted.
Well, first of all, I argue with you not letting us do the exchange, but I've been arguing with
The
Anthem.
people of New Hampshire would be about $30 million poorer if
I
we'd done
have
it,
been
and
arguing
we'd be
with-
at the same place, Anthem choosing winners and losers among hospitals.
I've been arguing with Anthem about putting the hospital back here in Nashua, and this is what they're telling me. If we put all the hospitals back, insurance will be 50% more. And I said, okay, let us take a look at your numbers. I want to see how you put these numbers together, how you do the insurance. And you want to know something? They won't give the numbers to me.
You know what the
because
solution is?
You want to know what the numbers are connected to? Profit. 120% profit. A third of $1 billion Anthem has made. And they're saying they can't put this hospital,
You know what the
back?
solution is? You and I know what the solution is because we're sponsoring a bill that is the only solution, and that is to put competition into the system.
Absolutely.
It's to allow other companies to write insurance here. And one
Other
of the ways-
companies are starting to come in. Yes.
and to allow out-of-state companies. Because if an entity, whether an insurance company or the hamburger shop at down the corner, is making too much money, then competitors will look at that, potential competitors, and say, I can make a lot of money too by charging just a little bit less. And then the next competitor comes on and says, those two companies are making a lot. I can still make some money by charging even less than they do. That's how you get
We have Tufts
efficiency.
coming in.
We have
also
efficiency in the
have,
marketplace.
Pilgrim. I mean, they're all looking
And,
at
and
it.
so and so what we need to do is get rid of community rating, allow there to be rating based upon insurable risk of each individual.
In other words, are you,
Get rid of
are you
some
saying
mandates.
an individual who cannot get insurance now can't get insurance under your policy?
I'm saying that if there is a person out there that can't get any insurance, there is a role for subsidized coverage, but you can't make the whole system be a one-size-fits-all system. You have to allow younger people to buy insurance that makes sense for them. The logic of
Aren't they
Obamacare.
doing that?
No, the logic of Obamacare is that it takes a group of people, people under 30, who on the average incur about $900 to $950 a year in medical costs, and says unless you are poor enough to get subsidies, you're ordered to jump into the system, to come on in, and we're going to charge you $9,000 for your insurance. Now, the reason people aren't signing up is in part because these exchanges were poorly written and poorly put together, but mostly it's because people look at that and say, that just doesn't make sense.
Yes, but what you guys
That doesn't
want
make
to do,
sense.
what you guys want to do is eliminate every single thing and then start all over. But you have no plan. What is your plan?
There is a plan.
What is it?
The plan is to get, why do we have to keep on going through this? It's like
No, what is your plan? What is the Republicans' plan?
It's like talking to somebody and you tell them, they'll say, give me all the facts. You give them facts A through Z, and they'll sit there and they'll say, give me all the facts. You can keep on saying there's no plan. There indeed is a plan. The plan is competition. The plan is to get rid of mandates. The plan is to get rid of community ratings so that companies will come in and address the needs of the marketplace. The plan is to allow individuals to provide their own, to have a tax deduction so they can have their own health care accounts.
We already went through that.
There are a number of...
We already went through
No, we went through the argument of it, and it was rejected.
You won't even let Medicaid
It was rejected because...
Which is part of Obamacare. You guys have just got to stop this.
Medicaid will be the biggest expansion of welfare in the history of New Hampshire. You're taking a program that was supposed to address the poorest of the poor. When it was put in place under
and why won't it not take care of the poor of the poor?
I can't explain it when I'm being interrupted. What I can tell you is that it was supposed to cover 1% to 2% of the people. With the expansion that you're talking about, in New Hampshire, it'd be about 21, 22% of the people would be on Medicaid. Medicaid is a dangerous way to get, it's inefficient and dangerous. It's dangerous because the health care outcomes are the worst.
It's inefficient.
Oh, yeah.
Medicaid is inefficient.
Yeah, it only pays 40% of the cost of service. It's inefficient for the government.
In this case, they're paying 100% of it.
No, who's paying? Who's they?
Medicaid, which if you voted on, would come in and for, 3 years would pay 100% for those people coming on to Medicaid.
No, you're talking two different percentages. You're saying the federal government for 3 years would pay 100% of the cost to the state of Medicaid coverage. And that indeed is what Obamacare says. We don't know what it'll be after that, but it will. I'm talking about when someone's on Medicaid, and they go into a hospital, they go into a doctor and say, I need service. That doctor will only receive, or hospital will only receive on the average, 40% of what it actually costs in order to provide that coverage.
No, that's not true. That's not true. In fact,
what is true then? What is true? Because I want to get, it's one thing to say it's not true.
You just got here. I haven't. We're not going to see you for another 2 weeks. Is there anything in the state other than insurance that is getting you all riled up?
Putting people out of jobs in order to have a political argument against Republicans by raising the minimum wage, that is something that gets me riled up.
So you're saying they should not raise the minimum wage?
Oh, you know what? The Obama administration knows you shouldn't be doing it. So, and for the first 2 years, first 2 years of the Obama administration, when it had solid Democrat majorities in the Congress, there was a Democrat president, did it come back and say, the thing we have to do is raise minimum wage? No. You know what's happening now? is Obamacare is falling apart. They have Benghazi as a problem. They have all these corruption issues that are surfacing, the IRS. And so what do? They're like the magician who's trying to distract you from his trick. They say, oh, look, minimum wage, minimum wage.
You notice I'm not interrupting you.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you walk down this,
down
this path.
The fact is,
okay?
I'll tell you where minimum wage came from. It came in the 1930s, and it came from...
Let's stay here in New Hampshire. The history of it is the history.
No,
Let's stay right here
The history
today.
shows us why it is here. It was here in order to prevent blacks from getting jobs, because white people, white legislators, Congress members, were concerned in the 1930s. Unless you had a minimum wage.
What has that got to do with it?
That's exactly what it's. That's exactly what it's doing now. You know what?
No, wait. Are you trying to tell me that raising the minimum wage is bad? When was the last time it was raised?
Is it bad?
Do you know when the last time it was raised?
It will put people out of work.
Put who out of work?
It will put marginally employed people out of work.
$2 per hour per person will put people out of work?
Even liberal economists that recognize it will put people out of work.
Oh,
there's no argument on that, Ken. You can, once again, like Oregon, you can say...
This is what you guys have done before when the minimum wage was started. You guys went against it. Now, I would like to see... Why
do you think black young men have an unemployment rate around 27%?
I would like to see you guys try to take it away. Try to take the minimum wage away.
We did. I passed a law when I was speaker. We passed a law saying there'd be no minimum wage. You want to know what? Unemployment in New Hampshire went down during the whole time I was speaker.
Unemployment was going down anyway. We're in a recession because of 2 wars.
No, it wasn't. It was going up in other states.
Because we had a Republican who got us in all sorts of trouble. Please. You don't want me to mention Bush, then let's not go back.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you'd mentioned Bush. If Bush was so wrong in his foreign policy,
really wrong.
Then why did John Kerry vote for it? Why did Hillary Clinton vote for it? Why did Joe Biden vote for it?
Every single person, when a president goes to war, gets behind them and says, okay, we'll support the troops. You know that's the way it goes.
So these people have no leadership quality at all. Is that what we tell them? Biden, John Kerry,
you go
Hillary
right down
Clinton.
through historically. This is what everybody does. When they finally know, they'd know it before us. When the first bombs are going to drop, they know it's going to happen anyway. That's when everybody goes, okay,
so
we're going to
John Kerry's
support the
okay
troops.
saying I voted for it before I voted against it, and I'm just a victim of circumstances, and I just was checking in that day, and my vote was like a historical necessity, and I get to criticize Bush forever. It's been, the guy's gone for a while.
The economy and where we are right now, and coming out of the 2 wars, which cost $1 trillion or $2 trillion,
let me
which
give you
is
another
coming back into our coffers because we're not having war. So guess what? The economy is getting better because wars are stopping.
Obama has been a disaster for the middle class. He talks about the middle class, and he's been a disaster.
Obama has been?
Yes. Still, from the day he became...
money for jobs? And the Republicans... What has the Republicans done in Congress? What have they passed? What have they done? This is the worst Congress in the history of our country.
Wait a second.
They've done nothing.
Wait a second. Is Harry Reid not Senate President? Are you criticizing Harry Reid? Isn't he? You're sitting there going, "Where's Congress? Where's Congress?"
Half the Congress has stopped everything.
Thank God. And not quite enough.
That's right. And they stopped the debt ceiling. $24 billion it cost us, $400 million per state.
And you want to know?
And you think that's good?
They put the sequester in place. How is your life bad because of the sequester? Is your life like meaner than it used to be?
And as times come across,
and
we put the money back into it.
We've gone from $1 trillion deficit down to $600 billion in deficit. I think that's good. I think that's really good. But I started to say Obama has been really bad for the middle class. The median income of the middle class of American households, all American households, is 4.4% less now than when Obama became president.
When he took over, there was 750,000 people who were being laid off a month.
Too bad.
Now, are you telling me he's up to 100 or 200,000 a month being hired, getting off welfare, etc., and now they're working out 750,000 loss per month when he was brought in. Now the 750,000 are back to work, and we're now adding what? we're adding about 200,000 people back working. And you think
No,
that's
that's
bad?
not, that's not, first of all, none of that's true. As a story of fiction, it may or may not be good, but it has nothing to do with the reality here. The reality is that the household income in the United States, 6 years after he became president, is
Houses are going
4.4%
up,
less.
banks
Now,
are paying back their money, auto dealers are paying back the money, which you, by the way, were completely against.
what was that?
Money bailing out the automakers, bailing out the
Yeah, look,
banks,
okay.
and they've all paid it back.
Well, first of all, they have not paid it back, Ken. Chrysler didn't pay it back, and GM didn't pay it back.
Really? So how much does Chrysler owe now?
Right now, Chrysler owes nothing because the debt was forgiven when it was sold to the Italians.
No, it
So-
wasn't. It wasn't.
So
it wasn't
what the
forgiven.
American
It
taxpayer
wasn't
did,
forgiven.
what the American taxpayer
No,
did was
it wasn't
bail out
forgiven.
Chrysler so the Fiat could get a great deal. Just within the last couple of months, the last of the government stock was sold in GM, and there was a $30 billion loss.
we
you
have
know
le-
what that
we
was?
have less
You know
than
what that?
2 minutes.
You know what that was?
Okay.
That was a federal government finance bailout of the unions. The unions put General Motors into bankruptcy, and then when the time
Oh,
came,
the unions now.
oh yeah,
Oh,
when the
so
time
you're
came,
against the unions.
when the
Here we
time
go.
came,
I mean, it won't
taxpayer
stop.
money bailed
Okay,
out the unions.
Let us stop right now because we have a minute and a half, and I'm really, really happy you're back,
Right.
and I'm sorry that I'm not as awake as I should be, and I'm
I-
letting you talk more.
I want it this way.
Have you had
Ken.
fun?
I've had a good
you
time,
missed it?
Ken. It's been a good time, and I'm really appreciative of people listening in on us. And
We're just going to do a half hour today, and then you're going to come back in 2 weeks, and then we're going to do more. We're going to try to do, 4 half hours?
yeah, let's put together. I think these half-hour time frames work pretty well. It really does. It lets me say what I want to, and then by the time you get your bearings, it's all over.
46 seconds. Do you have anything to say?
Well, if you're trying to reach me, check my campaign manager, Ken Gidge. Take that, Ray Buckley.
Oh, let's not get into that. Okay, my name is Ken Gidge, and you can get me on Facebook. Also, Gidge World. That's my website. Also, 603-864-9332. You want to give a phone number?
Sure, and you can reach me not only at my email address, williamobrien@gmail.com, or my telephone number, 620-8710. Thanks.
Well, here we got about
Good
10,
to see you again.
seconds. This has been good, and we are going to do it again. But it's just I'm going to have the last word here.
You get it. I talk
You
too much.
Republicans ought to do better. Good night.